In this video, let's take a look at solving for y. So some basic steps to solve for y in most equations are that we want to add or subtract our x term from both sides and then divide by the number in front of y. And then just make a note that you may have to multiply both sides by the reciprocal if there is a fraction in front of y. So let's look at a couple of examples. Example 1 says 4x plus 4y equals negative 24. So I'm going to start by moving the x term to the other side. So remember, we always can do that with our inverse operations. So if 4x does not have a sign out front, it is positive. And so in order to move it, we're going to need to subtract it from both sides. So then on the left, that would add up to 0, and we can just bring down positive 4y equals, and then we normally like to write the x term before the constant, because that's just how we normally see it in slope-intercept form. So negative 4x minus 24 would be a good order to write that. So let me just scoot that over here. Okay, then we need to divide by the number in front of y. So the number in front of y is just this positive 4. So let's just divide everything by positive 4. And we get y equals negative 1x, but we normally just don't write the 1 because it's understood, but you can if you need to. And then negative 24 divided by 4 would be negative 6. And so now we have it all equal to y, and this is slope-intercept form. And remember, from slope-intercept form, we can pick out our slope would be negative 1, and our y-intercept would be negative 6. So that's why this is very helpful to be able to solve for y. So let's move on to another one. Number 2 says 8y minus 4x equals 2. So again, we want to look for the x term that's over here with y and move it over to the right. So it's a negative 4x, so we need to add 4x to both sides. Then negative 4x plus 4x would just add up to 0 or cancel out, and we get 8y equals 4x plus 2. Because remember, we like to write the x before the constant in slope-intercept form, so it's easy to pick out our slope and y-intercept. But then we need to divide by the number in front of the y, which is the positive 8. So let's divide each term by 8. And we bring down y equals, and then 4 divided by 8 would reduce to be 1/2. So let's put 1/2 x plus, and then 2 divided by 8 is going to simplify to be 1/4. So then again, if we needed to, we could pick out our slope nice and easy because that's just 1/2. And then our y-intercept is the other number, the b value, which is 1/4. All right, let's look at another one. So for this one, we have the x is already over here with our constant. So in that case, that first step has already been taken care of. So we just need to divide by the number in front of y, which in this case is just positive 2. So let's divide everything by 2, and we'll bring down the y equals, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and you can write the 1 if you need to, but you just won't ever see it because it's understood to be there when it's a 1, but we normally don't write it. And then we have 4x divided by 2 would be 2x, and then 10 divided by 2 would just be 5. And then we have our slope would be 2 or 2 over 1, and then our y-intercept is going to be 5, our b value. Okay, let's do a few more just to get the hang of things. So on number 4, I see that we have an x term over here on the right side, but we also have one on the left side. So we're definitely going to need to move this one over there to the right. So let's start with that. So it's a positive x because it does not have a negative out front, so we want to subtract it. So let's just do that first and bring down everything else. So positive x plus negative x adds up to 0 or cancels out, and we have 3y minus 10 is equal to 2x minus x. And if you need to right there, think of it as a minus 1x and put the understood 1 there if you need it. So 2 minus 1 would just give us 1x, and then we just normally write it as x. All right, so then we need to move the constant term of negative 10 over to the other side because we've got to get y by itself. And that would be a next good thing to do. So since it was a minus 10, let's do the inverse operation and add 10. So then those add up to 0, and we get 3y is equal to x plus 10. And then last but not least, we need to get rid of the number in front of y, which is a positive 3. So let's divide everything by 3, because 3y means that they're multiplying, and the inverse of multiplying is to divide. Then 3 over 3 is just 1, but we normally just don't write the 1, it's understood. And then we can write x over 3, we can leave it that way, or I'll show you another way we can write it in just a minute. And then let's just leave the 10 over 3 as well. But x over 3, you could write as 1/3 x, or see it written that way. And then 10 over 3, we're just going to leave that way. We're not going to write a mixed number. All right, so then our slope in either one of these cases would be 1/3, and then our y-intercept would be the 10/3. And then if you needed a decimal in order to graph that, you could get one. But for now, we're just going to leave it as an improper fraction. Okay, so let's look at another one. On this one, we have -4 times the quantity 3x plus 2y is equal to 16. So first things first, we could either distribute the -4 to both terms, or we could just divide by -4 to get rid of it, because we just need to get everything away from y. So either way would be fine. I'm going to divide by -4. So -4 divided by -4 will just give me 1. And we get 3x plus 2y is equal to 16 divided by -4, which would be -4. And then the next thing to do is move our x. So it's a positive 3, and we need to move it over to the right. So let's subtract 3x from both sides. 3x minus 3x will add up to 0. And we get 2y is equal to -3x minus 4. And then we just have to get rid of our number in front of y by dividing it out. So let's divide everything by 2, and we get y equals 3/2 x minus 2. So then we can tell that our slope would be 3/2, and our y-intercept would be -2. Now, if you felt like you really wanted to distribute the -4, I'm just going to work it out that way as well. So I'm just going to scoot this up a little bit to give me some more room. So you can see that we would get the same answer either way. And I'm going to erase that real quick. So if I were to take this problem and just rewrite it over here. So I have -4 times 3x plus 2y is equal to 16. And I decided I wanted to distribute the -4 to this quantity right here. It will also work out to give me the same slope-intercept form. So -4 times 3x would give me -12x. Then -4 times 2y would give me -8y. Then it'll still all equal 16. Then we can add 12x to both sides since it's a -12x and we need to move it. So let's add 12x to both sides. And then -12 and +12 would add up to 0. And then we bring down -8y is equal to 12x plus 16. And then we just need to divide by the number in front of y, which is -8. So let's divide everything by -8. So then -8 divided by -8 is just 1. And we have y equals, and then 12 divided by -8, they both divide by 4. So 12 divided by 4 would give me 3x. And then -8 divided by 4 would give me -2. And then I have 16 divided by -8. And I just noticed one thing. This is actually, oh no, that's right. I was checking my sign. I saw a -4 times +2 is -8. So I was just making sure my sign looked right. Okay, so then we have 16 divided by -8. They both divide by 4. So let me write that. And we get 16 divided by 4 would be 4. Actually, they both divide by 8, a bigger number. Or you could divide by 4, but then you'd have to divide by 2 again. So let's just divide both by 8 instead. So 16 divided by 8 would be 2, and negative 8 divided by 8 would give us negative 1. So what we notice here is the signs look different than what we ended up with over here on this first one. So I have 3 over negative 2 would be a negative 3/2, and then I do have a minus 2. So let's rewrite it. Negative 3 over 2x, and then negative 2. So my slope is negative 3/2. So did I miss a sign on the first one? Let's see. I did. So it's good I can check my work this way. See where I subtracted 3x right here? But I brought down a positive 3x, and you might have noticed that while I was working it out. So let's fix it. And that would make them match, because you definitely should get the same thing no matter what way you work it out. So notice our slope is still negative 3 over 2, and our y-intercept would still be negative 2. Because as long as you do things mathematically correct, there's certainly more than one way to do things. So I'm just going to separate these. So we got everything sorted out, so you can see that we ended up with the same slope-intercept form and slope and y-intercept for either way we worked that out. Okay, let's do one last example. So we have 2x plus 2/3 y equals 5. We need to move the x term over, and it's a positive 2x, so let's subtract it. And then those add up to 0, and we get positive 2/3 y is equal to negative 2x plus 5. But now we need to get rid of a fraction in front of the y. So the easiest way to do that is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 3 over 2, because that's the reciprocal of 2/3. And then I'm going to multiply this entire right side by 3 over 2. So on the left, the 3 and the 2 will cancel out because they multiply to give us 1. And then we get y is equal to, and we need to distribute. So let's distribute negative 2x times 3/2. I'm just going to write that out. Plus 5 times 3/2, so we can see it a little better. And then we'll take one more step to work that out. So we have negative 2 times 3 divided by 2. So I'm just going to actually write another step. So negative 2x times 3 all divided by 2 is what this means right here. And then we have 5 times 3 all divided by 2 for this second term. And then what you can see is the negative 2 and the 2 at the bottom, like those 2's will divide out evenly, and we're just left with the negative 3x. And then we have 5 times 3, which would give us 15, and we can just leave 15 over 2 for our y-intercept. So now we can see that our slope would be negative 3, and the y-intercept would be 15 over 2. And if you needed a decimal, you can always use one, but if not, I would just leave it as an improper fraction. All right, so that is it for some good examples of solving for y.